Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Shantia here. So in today's video, we're going to be doing a review for Married at First Sight, Season 14. This is going to be for Episode 5. The Wrong Soulmate, deleted Instagrams, and ratings from 50 to 100. What does Episode 5 have to offer us? Let's go ahead and get into it. So if you guys are new to this channel, I dedicate it to the women out there, helping them to live in a way that feels the most natural to them. I believe there is no perfect idea of what defines a woman. There are certain feminine attributes I think that always carries through. Every generation we should redefine it for ourselves, and that's why I dedicate it to living in a way that feels the most natural to us. Alright, so let's go ahead and dig into this episode. I like to start with the least problematic, or the couple that I feel like had the least intensity, and then kind of move my way up, because then I have a lot to say at the end of the video. So starting with Noi and Steve. Now it's clear that Noi and Steve are obviously vibing together. They are getting along. There's a connection. With Noi and Steve, Noi was in the pool and it was really cute. They were having a conversation where she was asking him to kind of rate their relationship of 50 to 100. And that's why I mentioned that in my intro, 50 to 100. And then I was gonna mention the 100 for Lindsey too. She goes from 0 to 100. I like that Steve was very honest about saying 50 to 100. I thought that was cute. One of their discussions that they had, or disagreements that they had that came up for this episode, was that Steve wants that lifestyle of going camping, being an adventurer, and Noi is set against it. Like, she's just like, I want a shower, I want a toilet. That is something that people need to talk about, is lifestyle differences. I don't think this is a big difference. To me, this isn't a deal breaker. I think having some kind of an adventure spirit is necessary. I just wonder, I feel like if every couple has to go through growing pains of learning how to be open-minded to one another's lifestyle, or one another's desire to live the way that they want to live. So I'm like, hey, we don't have to go camping every year, but they can compromise. And I'm sure Steve has friends. He can go camping with his friends if he wants to. I think it is important to consider as well that your spouse, your significant other, because these things, like Steve said, is such a huge part of his makeup, a part of his personality. He wants to be able to share that ideally with his closest confidant and life partner. So I hope she's open-minded to seeing it in that way, and seeing that you're not doing it for yourself, you do it for him, right? One thing I've noticed, like, as my parents have gotten older, is if my mom doesn't want to do something, she'll just go off and do her own thing. My dad will go off and do their own thing. There's just an understanding of that. So as long as they respect each other's boundaries, I think they'll be fine, and also open their minds to one another's lifestyles, then they will be fine as well. So you guys may have noticed, I forgot to say that I'm actually recording from my phone. My camera's getting fixed right now, so if the image looks a little bit different, that's why, and hopefully the quality is coming out crisp because I can't see it. Another conversation that came up with Noi and Steve was the infidelity. So both of them have experienced cheating in their immature years. I think, honestly, when the thing is, when you're young, you're so immature, you tend to make really poor decisions. The whole point is, do you learn from that? Did you learn from it? So I'm glad they had that open discussion. They are very honest about that at the during the boat discussion of never have I ever, which, by the way, I do kind of think it's a bad idea to have that with the husbands and the wives, because you're just getting to know each other for the first time. And Olajuwon, oh my gosh, that was so messy. I think it is ideal for the women to do it by themselves and the men to do it amongst themselves, because that can get very messy, as we have seen before. It seems like Steve and Noi know how to have adult conversations, so they carried that with ease. The other conversation that came up was Noi was having strong feelings for him. She said she's slowly falling in love with him. Noi is a very heart person. Lindsey's kind of the same. She just does whatever her emotions, her feelings, or her heart says to do. It is better to move from a place of maturity. You always want to add some logic. You want to use your mind, not just your heart, to decide for you what you should do. Your heart is gonna pull you towards those, like, most important decisions, but your mind is there to also protect you, so you utilize that too and use that to kind of think, okay, it's been 3 days. And men typically are a lot more calculative, so I'm not surprised Steve is the one saying, hey, it's only been 3 days, we need time to get to know each other. I thought his conversation was very genuine. So far, his personality is coming off as very mature. He is 38, and I like the way he processes things, and I like the way he handles it. Even during their dinner conversation, he was like, I know you were upset with me that I didn't react. And she's like, yeah, I was upset. But you know what? Now we know. We put it out there. It's awkward. You have those conversations, but you have to be able to have those uncomfortable conversations and then resolve them. Whereas I feel like, you know, I'm going to talk about them later. Jasmina and Michael were kind of struggling. And again, creating conflict where there isn't conflict. Noi and Steve are the heart relief for this show. You know, with all the drama going on and the disharmony amongst the couples, maybe the lack of attraction or the slowness or the pace, Noi and Steve really have something that just feels very warm, very genuine, very sincere, and you can enjoy them coming together. It just seems so loving. She's a heart person and he's just allowing himself to enjoy the experience. I'm looking forward to their relationship blossoming even further. But yes, I would like to hear that Steve has a plan. So Steve, have a plan, get the job, or find just a plan. I don't think there's anything wrong with freelance. I just want to hear that freelance is something that really works, or I want to hear what your plan is about that freelance. Moving on to Alyssa and Chris. Now, I honestly don't mind Alyssa too much by herself. I do think sometimes she does come off as kind of spoiled. It's funny because I put up that meme about the little girl crying and saying, "Mommy," and then she's crying, and then of course she's crying and talking about her mom, and I'm like, am I like, do I just like predict things ahead of time or something? Her and Chris went out paddleboarding. You know, they're trying to be on this vacation together. And then when they went snorkeling, she didn't want to go with him. I don't know if it was the physical thing, but she just didn't want to go swimming with him. She didn't want to do that with him. And she told her mother, she's like, "Mom, I don't want to be here." And her mom's like, "Girl, you're coming away across a certain way. You just do it." It's funny because she is a grown woman. So I think she should be entitled to make her own decisions. She's coming off as little girlish. I don't think she's a bad person. I just think she can be spoiled, entitled, selfish, as people can be. And honestly, she hasn't given Chris any mixed signals. It's pretty direct. You know, the only thing that's mixed is she might answer this conversation in the next episode, but the only thing that's not clear is whether she's done or not. Like, are you trying or are you not trying? Like, what is this? Because you're not trying, so obviously it's a no. I think Alyssa can come off as fun. I think she has cute quirks to her. I liked her response to Olajuwon's, I mean, it wasn't a threesome, but the mother and daughter situation. Yeah, I liked her response to that. So she can be fun to be around. And her and Katina seem to have a friendship together. Obviously, she knows how to be close to her friends. I mean, she had a lot of girlfriends and they really seem to care about her. Seems like she has the ability to be a good friend, but she don't like Chris. She may be a nice person, but she's definitely not being nice to Chris. She's not giving him any mixed signals. She may not be saying it that it's over, but it's clear what she wants. The body language, the words. Nothing in her language is saying, "Hey, I want to give this a chance. I like you." Nothing about it. There's no mixed signals. So on his part, I just want him to, I think he's a really good communicator. I think he's been very direct to her about, "Hey, do you want to do this?" I think he's been asking good questions and I like the way he approaches it. As far as, you know, opening up to the idea, I feel like the chapter is basically closed. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's production forcing them to be together or what the deal is. It seems a little confusing to me. I feel like there is an obvious mismatch in the compatibility between the two of them. She wants that guy who's a lot more active. The awkward conversation about the wrong soulmate. So apparently, you're at the after party, even further about the discussion. Apparently, Alyssa went to a psychic. This psychic told her that her future husband was going to have really nice eyes and a lion tattoo. And it turns out that's not Chris. That's actually Steve. Steve has actually really nice hazel eyes and a lion tattoo. So now I'm just like, what the? You can't have him, girl. That's Noi's man. You better stay away. So Noi heard about this and she was like, what? And she was crying at the airport when they were heading to Puerto Rico. And the men found out, the other groomsmen were talking about it. Honestly, I'm a little confused as to who. I think the men let Steve know and Noi found out too. And it made it awkward. So Alyssa changed the lion part of the story to an eagle, and that's what she said to Chris on TV, that she was looking for her soulmate. And Chris was like, "Oh, I don't subscribe to that. Hey, we're women, like we believe in the woo-woo. You can't have Steve. That's Noi's man." She's been very respectful towards the two of them. It's obviously some shady matching, incompatibility between the two of them. This isn't really entertaining. She is kind of blowing it out of proportion. Past seasons we've had, I can't remember his name, one guy on the show, he was like a personal trainer too. And he wasn't attracted to, I think the girl was named Lindsey, actually. He wasn't attracted to her. He basically avoided her. Didn't really say anything. Like, He wasn't trying to force the conversation, nothing. So I don't know if they're contracted to stay on the show, but I really feel bad if they are. Chris brought up at the beginning of the episode this discussion about how she sees disagreement as disrespect. Well, she's very turned off by Chris, and I think she's just, all her flares and alarms are going off around him because he's trying to, she doesn't like that he's trying to be with her. It just rubs her the wrong way. I think she's being unnecessarily mean to him. I guess this is the way she handles stressful experiences. She does not handle stress very well. She gets very uptight and spoiled about it. Let's go ahead and move on to Katina and Olajuwon. So the episode started out with Katina and Olajuwon sitting in bed. They're having a conversation about cuddling. She's like, oh no, you didn't cuddle me. And he's apparently a sweater in bed. And that's part of the reason why he doesn't like to sleep close to her. That just goes to show marriage does get real. And there are going to be things about someone where in your fantasy mind, you're like, I really wanted this. But then the reality is not that. And so you adjust. I think they're cute together. I'm not really feeling the connection, but they can grow into that experience. Move on into another scene, and Olajuwon is working out with Katina, and he's all intense about it. She's still your wife. She said she would have preferred to have gone to a pool as opposed to the gym. She was just trying to give it a chance, but he was apparently testing her. Later on, when he was having a conversation with the men on the beach after they went onto like an island somewhere else, he said that he wanted her to say and voice exactly what she doesn't like, and he knew she wasn't gonna like it, and he doesn't want her to be passive. So he's very smart. I don't know what to think about it. I guess I just think that's really smart, but a little like low-key manipulative. To do that if you already know she's not gonna like it. Like, why even do that? But he's interesting. He has multiple sides that I think surprises you or can surprise you. Steve, even during the after party, said that he was taking notes when it came to the romance because Olajuwon is, I think he is a romantic. I for sure think there's a lot of immaturity there, and there's still things he's having to grow out of. There's a lot of growing pains the two of them are gonna have to do together. But I'm like, you can't really teach certain guys to be romantics. If a guy has that down packed, he's in touch with that sensitive side of him, that's kind of a personality trait that is rare. I don't know if it's rare, but it's not very common. I think a lot of guys stumble into figuring out romance and they do a lot of the cheesy things, but he knows how to, I think he just wants it. You know, he wants the romance, and I love that. Later on, he lost points. He started the Never Have I Ever game. He asked everyone if they consummated their marriage. The producers behind the cameras aren't asking them these questions. They're going to ask each other these questions. Now, later on when they got to the Never Have I Ever, and he brings up the Ben with the mom, Ben with the daughter conversation, I was just like, why is this necessary? You know, I think part of that is ego. I was trying to think about it. I was like, what is that? Like, what is he like? Why is he doing that? Why does he keep bringing up this Playboy stuff? And I think part of it is ego. There's pride in it, pride about his sexuality. He's very proud of his sexuality and having had those experiences. So he has, to some degree, no shame about it. I think there's guilt about it. There's also a need to be very open about it. When it comes to that kind of situation, you do have to be a little bit more considerate of your spouse who's sitting right next to you. A mature man would not just bring up that discussion willy-nilly, but he has a strong personality. And people who have strong personalities tend to have certain like selfish tendencies. When I say selfish tendencies, I mean like think about themselves first. They're thinking about how excited it is that they're gonna do or express something, not really thinking about how other people are gonna react. He has a strong personality. She's trying to figure out how to navigate it. I think he just needs to learn how to tone it down. Maybe the romantic side is gonna learn to take the edge off of that strong personality. Strong personality people, you're meant for a certain kind of energy, but to me, if you're going to be with someone who has a strong personality, you have to hold your own. To have either a strong mindset or a strong perspective, you have to be very understanding or direct about what you want. Just know what you want and hold your ground, because people with strong personalities can just like knock you off your feet, and they can turn your world upside down. Stay grounded, Katina, girl. I think she is showing that she is a loyal, she has a groundedness about her. She has an understanding of what she wants, and all of those things about the self-love that she talked about when she was describing her past experience, that she's been working on self-love. Like, she's just smart about navigating her emotions. She knows what she's looking more for. And so therefore she's moving forward with caution, which is perfectly natural. Olajuwon also asked people about the threesome. Like, what I like about Katina is she's like, okay, he has a strong personality. I'm just gonna have to accept him for who he is. One of the perks of people with strong personalities, they tend to be very loving, or like very strong in their emotion. When they want to be the romantic, they're very expressive. That can be maybe too much for some people. To some degree, it can be very enticing, magnetic to be around. So it just depends on how well you handle it. He has some sense, common sense to him. It's just he doesn't always, he just has an openness to him too. That's, for some people, it's just going to be too much. But I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. It's part of his charm. It's part of his personality. So one of the things he admitted during their romantic dinner is that he deleted his Instagram. Oh my gosh, he deleted his Instagram. Crazy. He deleted his Instagram for her. And that was one of the things I brought up in at the beginning of my reviews, is that I think he had an Instagram, or he was on social media. He's like all in or all out. I want to continue to see his devotion into being this new man, this new Olajuwon. That's an awesome thing to do for your wife. One of the last scenes of Olajuwon and Katina was when he decided to give her a foot massage, and he was basically reciting vows to her, talking about how he's gonna be there, and that's great to see. It's only day 4, but I would love to see him do that consistently. The words are beautiful, and some guys don't know how to express or use their words, so he is giving people notes. He's Olajuwon the poet, and Olajuwon the poet knows how to use words spectacularly. As long as he continues to actually show her through action, they'll be fine. They will figure it out. Moving on to Jasmina and Michael. The first scene that opened up with Jasmina and Michael is they're sitting in bed, they're having their coffees. Apparently he didn't get her coffee right, and she's like, ugh. He brings up how they had a disagreement the night before. I feel like his sisters were right. He does assume the worst. Everyone said that he's so serious. That's the vibe that they get from him. When you see people under stress, you see how they react to stress, and this experiment shows you how people react to stress. Alyssa, not so great. And him, I think the same thing. He's such an overthinker. He's so heady. What's good about being matched with Jasmina, even though I do kind of feel bad for her, I do feel bad because I feel like she should be enjoying her honeymoon right now with her husband, and he's just overthinking. But what's great about her is she's smart, she's intelligent, she can kind of navigate his headiness because she has a little bit of it too. She's cerebral too. So she can kind of figure that out, but it's turning her off, you know, and it really did turn her off even further later when they had another discussion. But she's noting that he's an overthinker. She's letting him know, hey, this is something we need to work through. But I'm just feeling so bad because they just started their honeymoon. They're just getting to know each other, and they can't even get past the fact that he creates situations in his head, or he exaggerates situations in his head. And I could see where he needs work, and I can see where she needs work. But she said that straight up to him. She's like, your sister said you assumed the worst, so now I'm kind of concerned. Which I'm like, if that's like one of the things I'm hearing multiple times about someone, I'm looking at them like, because first of all, I'm an optimist and I'm a dreamer, and I like to see the good in people. He explains why he overthinks and he's taking it so seriously. It's because he's trying to put in 100%. So they're having this discussion at the pool, just the two of them. He said in previous relationships, he didn't put in 100%. Thinking isn't the work. You don't have to think through everything. Where your brain is necessary is to analyze. You can navigate, but don't stay stuck there. The experience of being with someone, connecting with someone, getting to know them, the physical connection, how your heart feels when you're around them, what your intuition is saying. It's the full package. So, you know, if I'm just hearing that you're having an experience from here, you're not really having an experience, because this can manipulate your experience. It can totally shift and change things so that it looks a certain way and paints a certain color. She's just like, can we just have fun? So that's why I feel bad. During that same discussion, he also says that it's because his brother, his mother, his father, and his grandmother all passed away in his life, and that's why he thinks like that. Why marry a stranger? Why sign up for this show? Why jump into this experience? Because I think this experience requires a lot of faith, of just trusting and living it up and being for the experience of it. When I hear that, I just feel like you need more time to yourself to heal and work through things so you can get to trusting people more and opening up and just allowing life to be. They don't really have an age difference, right? They are the same age. To me, that's a bit problematic because at that age, especially when a man has gone through all those experiences and he's still working through his healing, I feel like you need at least like 4 or 5 more years. Like, wait to your 30s to get married. Take your time. Now she's having to work through this with him. She's having to work through him needing to heal because she's already kind of, now she wants to open her heart and she wants to experience life, but now she's with someone who like is kind of closed off. And one of the things that she mentioned primarily that she was looking for in a partner, she wanted someone who was emotionally available, and I'm not seeing his emotional availability. I'm just seeing the mind availability. Like, you're open to discussions, you're open to conversation, you're open to thinking about this, but not really opening your heart, and that's where the emotions. Overall, I thought, you know, a lot of the discussions they have are really heady. They're very good discussions. I think they're very level-headed, intelligent people. I like to hear people move through discussions, but I'm also an experienced person, and I think experience is very important. I think Jasmina was emphasizing that. You want to experience life, and the way you do that is you get out of your head, get in your body, and you start feeling things, feeling the experience. Later, they had a discussion we were not privy to, we didn't get to see, where he talked about how she cut him off, and they showed a clip of it, and it obviously did not look like she cut him off. And I'm like, if that's what cut off to him looks like, I'm really concerned. I'm really concerned if that's what cut off looks like. There seems to be a consistent miscommunication, like for over small things between the two of them. And I feel like it's mostly, honestly, on his part. It's like, we don't have to think so much or analyze it to death, like all these situations. We can just kind of enjoy the experience and move through it and then see. But he's just such an overanalyzer. He said she cut him off, and I didn't see it. It looked like a couple discussion. It looked like he passed the baton onto her when they were talking about consummating their marriage on the boat. He said that she needed to apologize to him. I don't know, at this point I'm like turned off, but Jasmina's with him so she gets to see the other side. When she's talking about he got loud and aggressive, I don't know if she's exaggerating that or if that's his other side that we're not seeing on camera. But if that's the case, if he is being loud and aggressive and telling her to apologize over something so tiny. He's so calm, but then she was like, you were loud and aggressive, and I'm just like, who is this Michael that you're talking about? So I don't know. They're both telling their stories. I don't know what to believe. He's obviously, I feel like he just needed so much more healing. He needed so much more time to just work on himself before he could get to that point of enjoying a marriage. Seriousness is required. You know, you're automatically, you know you're gonna get serious in marriage. But you need to find ways to bring levity and fun, because that is what's going to save it. That humor, that joy. That is what saves people. It brings people out of those dark clouds that I feel like are constantly swimming around Michael. In their previous discussion at the pool, he's like, I'm a happy person. And I'm like, Michael, you gotta show her. Don't say it. You might believe that's what it is, but I wonder if when it comes to relationships, he gets very uptight and just wound up. When he's with his sisters, he can let go and be free and be fun. So I don't know, again, what he said or to what degree he said it, but I can see how that could be a huge turnoff for her. I don't mind her admitting that in her diary. I'd be the same. I'd be like, I'm pissed. This guy, I don't even know him, and he accusing me of things. I'd be pissed too. But then in real life, I'd try to conduct myself with more grace, which she is doing. You know, she's conducting herself well, and she's very outspoken. I give her props for standing up for herself and being like, it's in your head, I'm not doing anything. The other part of this discussion is apology. How do we apologize to each other? Do we apologize even if we didn't do anything wrong? I think that can be a tricky thing to navigate in marriage. My thing is just let go of this ish. Like, this is small stuff. This is small stuff. Both of them are so stubborn, which I'm detecting a little stubbornness on both sides. If both of them continue to be stubborn in their partnership, they're going to have a hard time finding, being on the same page. They're going to have a hard time being on the same level with one another. I'm hoping the best for them. Compared to all the other couples, they're having a very different start. My hope is that I think Jasmina can be quite serious. I think he can be quite serious. someone needs to like let loose. Like one of them has to be a little bit more generous in joy and levity. He's turning her off and then she's just turned off. They're having a hard time generating that enjoyment in their marriage. I just hope one person can just kind of bring that into it. Michael, moving on to our last final couple, is Lindsey and Mark. One of the first discussions that the two of them had was that she apparently had had 3 bottles of wine and that's why she was acting as such on the plane. Now, here I'm thinking, 3 bottles of wine? Like, where did you have time to drink 3 bottles of wine? You know, after 2 bottles of wine, that's a red flag. 3 bottles, that's like, on top of that, he has an experience of being with people who have drinking issues, for Mark and Lindsey. So I think there might be an alcoholic pool, conducting yourself, what's that about? She called, again, she mentioned the men. I'm just like, again, I'm looking at this. I don't know what Mark is thinking, but I'm hearing someone discuss it off. Because I don't want to hear, I don't care what people did to you. People have already petty. You know, I feel like Mark is missing some flags here. Mark, there's flags. Yeah. So now, unbeknownst to us, the reason Lindsey was so pissed off during this discussion was, and she expressed this during the after party, they had consummated their marriage. And not only that, that day they had been intimate 3 times on 3 occasions that day. And then he's like, oh, I'm going to bring the romance. And then he's telling her he wants issues on Mark's part. Like, he has some issues with, there's a certain kind of emotional intelligence that's needed to know how to detect good time thinking. And he's seeing, okay, maybe I should slow things down. I just don't know, like some guys, I'm like, hey, and that's just not smart. It's not smart. You know, I think with Steve saying, no, we're going to hold back and we're going to think about things and we're going to process it and we're going to slow things down. That's the better way to go. Yeah, I think Lindsey she's just in her emotions. She's already feeling like she's in love. It's just out to be a storm and a mess. Mark mentioned that she goes from 0 to dinner. Lindsey, I think the day before, was heading to the island, and her and Katina got into the disagreement. Katina was basically trying to express the white privilege that was coming through in their disagreement prior. Lindsey was like, I'm triggered. I was actually triggered. It doesn't matter. I think Lindsey, on that boat, during having that discussion, Lindsey was like, hey, you know, I'm being vulnerable, open. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. She had a point there. And I think Katina had buttons that were pushed, and she should have just set it aside and let it go. I think I would have given Lindsey and just kind of, unless she had approached me and was trying to argue with me, I would have let it just slide. And if she came to me on another occasion and came at me, then I would have to say something. But I would be like, okay, let's move past this experience. But one thing we have to always teach them. Sometimes people are ready when they're ready. And that is just the case. People aren't always going to be ready to learn when you want to teach them. And also there's a way to approach. Jasmina was having a conversation with Lindsey, and I felt like the way that she was trying to approach it was a much more level-headed way to approach it. That's when people hear you and they listen to you, is when you're talking to them as if they have some sense. But Katina was talking to Lindsey, which I get it. She was talking to Lindsey as if she had no sense. So people aren't going to be open to them working on themselves. They're not going to be open. But Katina wasn't wrong. She called it out. She's like, hey, you need to do your healing. If you're triggered, you need to work on that. You can't just go out saying things, you know, a black man, and think that that's going to be okay in society. Which was, she was perfectly, I love that she did that. But at the same time, you can always just be ready to, like, oh, sure, just teach me. Like, no, you kind of have to be ready for that. And you have to sort of ease that conversation in. The thing is, Katina was so emotionally invested in that, you know, if Lindsey's not giving her the response that she's like, she's just annoyed and she has to go for a walk. So again, I pointed out in my previous episode that Katina seems to have buttons that are going to be pushed. I understand, believe me, I understand why those buttons were being pushed, but I think you don't want to let people push those buttons so easily. You know, find a way to like guard those buttons a little, put it off, walk away, whatever, take a breather, and just be like, okay, we're going to do it. I understand she tried, but just watch for that a little bit more in life, because sometimes she's one of those people, she might just have to keep making those crazy mistakes until she learns. Unless I'm involved, I'm not going to get involved. You know, I'm going to let you figure out your stuff because you're going to take away and drain my energy. Drama. No, you're a grown woman. You can figure that out on your own. If you met consequences, figure it out on your own. And one day, and then he tells her that same day, hey, let's slow things down. You know, I don't know if it was Lindsey who was approaching him, but he could have said no, right? He could have said no, and he probably should have thought that through a little bit better. I don't know if maybe he was just craving the intimacy and closeness. But then Lindsey just started calling him out. She's like, oh, why are you farting and pooping in front of me? And he's just like, you're just at 100. And he's right. The thing is, once you push that button with her, she'll go off on you from being her lover to her enemy. Part of that is because she was emotionally invested into him. She gave him her body. She was falling in love with him. And then for him to turn the page, on her like that, I'm sure it felt very deceptive. But I think Lindsey is so, this is a weird way to like kind of word it. Let me try to figure out a way to word it. But she attracts that. She attracts it and she creates it. Like in her head, she's being deceived. So she's got trust issues and she creates this drama in her relationships. She's like, oh, you deceived me. Even though he's trying to have an adult conversation with her, the way he approached it just was awkward. Yeah. So that's my review of Married at First Sight. I'm just going to leave it at that, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed my review. Go ahead and share down below your comments about the couples. Make sure you like and subscribe, support the channel. I would so appreciate that. And I hope you have a wonderful day or evening. Make sure you are here for the next video of Married at First Sight review. I upload videos at least once a week. That's like what my schedule's looking like right now. But these videos are long, so that's why I just do one. All right, I hope you guys have a great day or night. Bye.
That was long.